we're going to do a call-in show for the podcast on the thoughts of Incense and Community Day changes. Today, we are going to talk about the Pokemon GO Nerf for Incense, and then we'll discuss through about the 3-hour Community Day hours changed. And so for today's interview, we're going to be hosting someone who is now in the listening chat. So if you are in the chat, you are welcome to speak. I see a couple of you in here, and anybody would like to come and speak about your behalf on the Pokemon Go Incense or the 3-hour Community Day. Just wanted to clarify things that we do not allow to talk about content creators or Niantic employees. Because we want to keep this interview positive, so that way we can speak on mostly about the changes of Incense, and we could talk about what Niantic can improve on. So that's the whole deal here. So the questions are going to be first things first on Incense Nerf, like why did Niantic nerf the Incense? And why did Niantic nerf the hours for Community Day? So that's one of the two. So we're going to start with Incense first. Okay, so Man Without Eyes, it seems that you are up.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hello, how are you today?
Doing all right. It's cold. It's cold out here.
Oh, man. What degrees?
Well, we started out today around 30 degrees and it started snowing. So, yeah. Typical Ohio March, you know.
Wow, crazy. We're here to discuss first on Incense. So, what are your thoughts about Incense?
See, my opinion on the Incense is Incense was always kind of garbage, but putting it at a spawn every 5 minutes really highlights how garbage it really was to begin with.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't speak for the disabled community. I mean, we've seen other content creators get into trouble for that recently.
Yeah.
And, yeah. But you said we're not going into that. But I can only speak for myself in that, I only really used Incense whenever I needed a quick thing for a research or something like that. I go out quite frequently.
Okay.
Play when the weather's nice. But, as far as I'm concerned, the Incense was pretty useless to begin with. And, I've just been using it even less. I never bought it. I mean, it comes out in research all the time, like special research and Community Day research. I mean, I haven't had to pay for Incense in forever.
Yeah, I do regret paying Incense a lot because, like, even though the change happened, I stopped paying it because it's like, what's the deal of like using Incense when changes happen? So it's like, yeah, I refuse to use Incense until Niantic reverts it back to 1 minute, and yeah, I could see the issues between what Incense changes can do to hurt people that are living in their homes. And it's like, it's 5 minutes and it's like you're on a stopwatch waiting for a Pokemon to spawn. So it's like, it's a waste of time.
Yeah. Like I watched a couple of Twitch streamers that were in countries that were locked down on Community Days, and they didn't have any like spawn points in their home. Like they didn't have a cluster around them or anything. And that was just kind of brutal to watch, even with the 1 minute Incense. It was like you get one after another. There's no variety in that, Mm-hmm. So yeah, I can kind of feel for him on that.
Yeah, and there was this one person who was experimenting with Incense while walking, and he says anytime that Incense spawns anything with Incense that a Pokemon will spawn, it stops working. It's like, what's going on? So yeah.
Yeah, I've experienced that too recently. Like things will spawn and then instantly despawn.
Oh my gosh.
I had a lot of that going on with the Johto Tour Day. Like I had to rely on my Go Plus for catching.
Mm-hmm.
And when Niantic sent out their questionnaire, I was sure to give them an earful as far as that event went.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was great answers from you. So the other question pertaining to Incense is, what can Niantic do to improve with Incense?
Well, I think the Incense spawns need to be more relevant to whatever event's going on. 100%. Because, like, current event, for instance, a lot of the tasks are grass type catching tasks. And if you look around you, there's barely any grass types. Well, what if there were boosted grass type spawns during an event like this on Incense? I mean, I would be a little more inclined to use it, even with the 5-minute nerf, just to satisfy field research. Because there's some folks out there that are still doing the 100 field research task masterwork research from Johto Tour, and I even know somebody who's still working on the masterwork research from Kanto Tour with the 151 research tasks.
Wow.
So, like, if the spawns were more relevant to the field research, I think that would make it better at least.
That's actually pretty good answers from your perspective on Incense. Coming up next is going to be Community Day on Stuffle. So what we have here is that Niantic has changed recently, that it used to be a 6-hour event with community days, but then unfortunately it turned to a downhill for the hours to be changed on the afternoon, 2 o'clock to 5 p.m. So yeah. Any thoughts on that, Man Without Eyes, on Community Day?
Oh boy. I'm going to get flamed into oblivion for this. This is kind of why I put like that disclaimer of I kind of have a devil's advocate opinion on this. One, I am not a paid Niantic shill, and two, I'm not a Niantic bootlicker. But I can kind of see where they're coming from with the justification for the 3 hours at least. Like, after about 3 hours, I was pretty well done with comm days anyway. At least checked out and auto catching. Like, let's be real. You throw out a lot of the shinies, or you trade them away or something because they're just garbage in the end. Like, I understand their rationale, but when they group in the you had too much time to play, and I don't think the community was getting together at the right time, that I'm going to call BS on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, the time slot, like from 2 to 5, I'm kind of whatever on that. I kind of liked playing from like 11 till 2. Just because I can then just get on with my Saturday. Because I'm a busy guy. I mean, I don't play Pokemon Go full time like it's my job or anything. But, the 6 hours, it felt like an obligation almost. And this kind of helps me at least with, getting important things in my day done early on instead of, bowing out of an event early and, having that fear of missing out.
Yeah. That actually makes sense. And there was a recent tweet about that someone posted that you can choose the amount of like 3 hours. Like, Yeah,
the 3 hour block choice thing.
yeah. I wish Niantic can do that instead of just, you know, give us just the 3 hours. I think the optional choice slots for those 3 hours would benefit so many people to play when they can, when they're free.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially people working retail or something on Saturday.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like they can, play before or after work, and everyone's happy at least that they could play and focus for 3 hours on it.
Mm-hmm. Because I saw a 8 to 11, 11 to 2, 2 to 5, or 5 to 8 slots. So they're really great.
Yeah, and then keep the whatever trade or evolution bonus going the entire time. Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be great.
A couple questions for the community day as well. So since Niantic tested a classical community day that was 3 hours in the January event, community day classical, what do you think of that versus the community day this month?
See, I really enjoyed the Bulbasaur Classic Community Day. I mean, there was a lot of grousing on Twitter about, oh, it's only 3 hours long, and oh, it's Bulbasaur, it's another repeat. That standard boilerplate complaining that you get from the community. But with a new Pokemon, I'm really kind of questioning their motives when it comes to a 400 candy evolution. And even with their bonuses, you still have to catch 25.
Yeah.
25 with Pinot Berry in order to evolve one. And if you're on Incense only, you're only going to get 2 tops. If you're pineapping every single one, if you catch every single one, if I'm not mistaken, Stuffle has a pretty high flea rate. So I think this is going to end up being a mess.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, I'm not going to have any problems as long as the weather's good, because we're in spring in the Midwest. I mean, it could be nice and sunny and pleasant. There could be tornadoes out. I don't know.
Yeah.
It all depends on the weather. I'm planning on going out for it and getting as many as I can, and just do a solid 3-hour grind. But playing from home, this would be just, why bother?
Mm-hmm. So I talked with another guy recently about the numbers of spawns that a Pokemon will spawn instance at home. And I was actually wrong that it was 54. It was actually 36 Pokemon in total for the 3 hours, which is a pretty lackluster.
Yeah, it would be 12 per hour.
Yeah, 12 per hour.
So then with my line of speech there, you only get one.
Yeah.
Make it count and pray you get something above 96.
So, okay, the last question for Community Day is, what do you think Niantic can improve upon for Community Day with this change?
Just plain and simple, don't put a 400 candy evolution out there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just plain and simple. That is the root of all of the problems with this. Now, if they had like a Wormpole Community Day or a Caterpie Community Day, where it's like just 12 candy to evolve and another 50 to get it up to its max evolution, I think this would be ho-hum. It would be a so what.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, they had to drag in. I mean, hell, they could have used so many other different Pokemon to just lighten the blow on this one. But instead, it's like, here you have a challenge. You either accept it or you just don't get anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's really fair.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm willing and able to go out, but if the weather's crap, I'm not going to go out.
Yeah. I had a recent talk with the other person who said it was 400 candies. So when you get 2 times the candy catches with Stuffle for 3 hours will equate to like 648, and it doesn't feel enough to actually just evolve more Stuffle. You only evolved like one Stuffle, and it's like, okay, so I'm gonna use Beware in the Go Battle League, and like, what if I want to use 2 to 3 Bewares to test it out with Drain Punch?
I think you're going to see a lot of different GBL players with Beware as their walking buddy.
Yeah.
For a while.
Oh God.
I think it's only a 1K candy.
It is for Stuffle?
I think so. I mean, if it follows the same pattern as Whale Lord and Swablu, it should only be one.
Yeah, Pikachu and Aeron have a 1 kilometer distance for walking buddy.
Oh, I thought Pikachu was a 3.
Pikachu's, I think, yeah, Pikachu's a 1. I believe, yeah. So that's interesting. Yeah, that's gonna be a pain for PvP players.
Yeah, like I can imagine people dumping. I mean, if it's actually that good in Go Battle League, I can imagine people dumping some rares into it, or throwing their phone on a rocker overnight or something, just so they get one that's usable in whatever league. I really don't do GBL.
Yeah, because I like to use rare candies for very important, valuable Pokemon, but not for Stuffle. It's like, okay, yeah, but for sure.
I'm more of a collector. I use it on rare evolutions. If I ever get a Jangmo-O, it's going to get some rares thrown at it for evolution. But I very rarely put rares into something to power it up.
All right, cool. Yeah, so that's actually it for these questions. Thank you so much, man. Those were good answers.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Of course. All right, so we also have another request coming up. His name is Aaron, so I'm going to request Aaron to speak on his half on the Incense and Community Day. So let's...
Hey, how are you?
How are you today?
I'm not too bad. I'm just back from holidays, actually. Just thought I'd jump on here just to see what was happening.
Yeah, we were going through an interview process with Incense Nerf and then Community Day, Hours Nerf. So that's what it's going to be about in this podcast. So first things first is going to be on the Incense Nerf. What are your thoughts on the Incense Nerf when Niantic made changes?
Well, actually speaking from just previous experience of actually using Incense, it's kind of a mixed bag of reviews, really. For me, it's not really the most ideal thing to be doing, especially because if you're going to be making a change, it has to be at least a good amount of hours, if not it has to be some sort of reasonable adjustment that can be made in like a certain time. Like, it can't just be like, right, okay guys, in the next 2 hours, in the next 2 or 3 hours, we're going to have a change in Incense. You need to at least be given a community like this a much broader and much more effective time scale of, like, so for example, like, say for the next month or two, we're going to be having to change like Incense or whatever. But like, from my perspective, I don't like Incense. I only use Incense there during the actual event of the Johto event. I only use it for about 3 hours, and that was me done for the day because I had to work later on that day. And for me personally, it's not the most effective thing in the world. It could be a lot more effective. Like, as I know, there was in the previous person who was speaking to me there, they touched on the point there of it not being like spawn-based effectiveness. As I said, they brought this grass types, even now, I actually have a game on in the background, and a lot of the spawns are bug types or normal types or flying types, and none of it has anything to do with the current event that's currently ongoing at the minute. And I say, I can't really speak for other people, but I know for people that maybe don't have the same abilities or capabilities that other trainers do have, I think that they should maybe review it and be hold on a minute here, maybe we could make a few reasonable adjustments to it, because I know that a lot of people don't have the facilities or the capabilities to get out and actually go explore what the game was intending to do. I think that that's where they need to then be hold on a minute, maybe we can make some reasonable adjustments. But like I say, Incense for me has not, I haven't used Incense all that much. Maybe if it is just to get spawns, if I'm in a really rural area. For me, luckily I live near a gym and 2 other Pokestops, but that's about it really. I don't really need an Incense, but if I was going somewhere where I had no stops and no gyms or nothing, then I would maybe put an Incense on for about maybe half an hour to an hour tops.
Wow. You said a lot of info about it. Yeah, that's interesting.
Dave, if I might interject, something he said in the end just sort of piqued my interest a little bit. What do you think of the 90-minute Incense?
What they think of it, or what they make of it?
Well, either.
Honestly, I was actually in America whenever this first game was first launched, and I actually came back I come from the UK, so I'm actually from the UK, and it actually came out just a couple of weeks ago after it was first launched in America. But for me, I personally, Incense has never been what it was, what they said Incense was supposed to do. It hasn't done that in the 5 years I've been playing the game. It hasn't done that. I mean, I'm part of my local community, and even I can't advocate or speak for them. Only they can speak for themselves. But for me, because we're in a massive, we're in a chatter, another different group for it. But a lot of them people have been saying how bad the Incense is. One spawn every 5 minutes is not ideal, especially if during the pandemic, whenever millions of people are sitting in the house and can't go anywhere, it's not effective. It has to have a lot more effectiveness than just being one spawn every 5 minutes. I mean, if I'm going to sit here and play Community Day or play an event from my home whenever I can't go out, now yes, I am a very active person. I like to go out and walk plenty and go to different gyms and different stops to collect research. But for me, one spawn every 5 minutes is not sufficient enough. I'm sorry, but whoever at Niantic came up with the idea, that's not ideal. That's not ideal at all. And then in any game at all, what the player base plays, we are their player base. We're telling them our experiences of it. Everyone has a different experience of it, and I think that they're only looking at a small scope rather than the bigger scope of what their gameplay actually is. Because see, if you look at what their game base is, they mostly dominate all of America and maybe Australia. From where I live, or from where I'm from, and where I know most of the communities from, we barely get any of that. We might get even 5% of that, if that.
Mm-hmm. Man without eyes, you already given the question to Aaron. So is that it for you?
Oh yeah, sorry about that. I just want to pick his brain a little.
Oh,
No, you can.
okay.
No, you can. Honestly, I don't mind. Say if you have any questions about what I say or anything, because it's good to get feedback from other people. Because
Yeah.
obviously we're all in completely different regions. We're all playing this completely game. We're all playing the game differently, and for me, it's nice to be able to hear another person's perspective. So, if you want to jump in, jump out, I don't mind. I'm happy enough to answer any questions you have. So
I like that. That this is a free space to open up. So yeah, I'll accept it. All right. So this last question for Incense is what Niantic can approve on Incense.
I think that for me personally, I think it's if you're going to do an Incense event, I know from past Incense event experiences that whenever they put out the actual infographic of it and say, "Oh, these here Pokemon are going to be rare," they're not rare. I can see like 2 or 3 gibbles on the map at any one time, and if it's going to be rare, have it as rare. But see, for the most common ones, have them be the dominant Pokemon or the dominant species on the game. Not have them appear whenever people are going to be like, "Oh, but you said that these were going to be super rare." Like, yes, I understand if it's to keep it different or keep a balanced gameplay, but you're not going to achieve a balanced gameplay. And I understand that they're trying to keep a game that it's going to be fresh, it's going to be interesting, keep people intrigued. But the way that it's going now, it's not doing that. It's actually tearing people away from it more, because during the pandemic, a lot of people I know actually had other plans or other commitments happening. But for me, the Incense, it needs severe work done to it. So it does.
Okay, interesting. Very good answers. So the next one is going to be Community Day Stuffle. So what are your thoughts on Community Day, and what are the changes through those hours change from 6 hours to 3 hours?
Okay, so my opinion, whenever I was actually on holiday, whenever this first got announced, I was a bit shocked and I was a bit like, I don't know whether it was overwhelmed or underwhelming. It was a mixture of both, really, because it's a new Pokemon. It's not really something that I would have put into a community day. I believe that if a community, for me, a community day would mean it's an all-day event, not 3 hours or not 6 hours. For me, if it was me, I would be putting maybe the likes of maybe a three tier evolution Pokemon into a community day and having that as a featured Pokemon. So, like, for example, Ralts, for example, that community day was a really good community for me, because it means that they had it not only on the map, but also they had it in raids, in eggs. That got more people to raid as well. That brought the raid aspect into it. That brought the hatching aspect into it. Because for me, it's more about getting, like, making sure I can get the shiny for it. I know that during community days, they say that the odds are meant to be boosters. I remember I done Dratini Community Day, and I only got 1 shiny for the entire 3 hours. And I was a bit like, is this really it? Even though I caught like something like 300 odd Dratini.
Yeah, the shiny odds definitely are better than they used to be for Com Day. I've noticed that. Because Dratini Community Day, I didn't get a Synchro 1, and then Marie, I got 1.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was kind of up the creek there.
Yeah, no, because I actually went down to my local park there, and even like we would have ran like a community competition. So basically, the person with the most shinies got like a mention or something like that, or got like a prize or something for like having the most shinies. And we did like a competition, so it would be like the heaviest Mareep, or else the most shiny Mareep, or say the tallest or the smallest Mareep, or whatever it may be, for example. But for me, I personally believe that having a community day it should be a Pokemon that hasn't had its shiny released yet. That's a 3-tier evolution, like Squirtle and Charmander or Bulbasaur or something like that. There, a two-star evolution, a 2-stage evolution. It's underwhelming for a new Pokemon. If it was maybe out in the wild for maybe like part of this event, it would be good because then you're still having that. Oh, it's a new Pokemon. Like I remember, like people were chasing like Snorlaxes and all like that there, and that got the community going. But I mean, for me personally now, from going forward, I actually don't think I'll be playing. I don't actually think I will be able to do community days. Maybe one community day every other month or something like that because of the way my work will now fall. But I think was it yourself or was it the other guest in this chat had said about there was a picture that was posted on Twitter with like different times of like.
Oh, I mentioned that. Yeah, there was a guy on Twitter that made this idea where you have the options to do community day freely before you go to work or after you go to work.
Yeah, definitely. No, because I saw that and I actually liked it and I actually retweeted it sort of. But I think that there is something that they do need, that they should hopefully implement.
Yeah.
And it's a very good way to get the community like to say, like, this is what we the community would like. Could you maybe implement this?
Yeah.
And to see what they say. Obviously, we can't do it because we aren't the big name. We aren't the game creators of this game. So we can just suggest ideas to them and maybe pass on information to maybe people who have maybe got contacts within Niantic to them express our interest in this happening. But for me, 3 hours, it's too much. It's not a long. It's too small of a time frame. Like for me, like 11:5 was perfect because you have 6 hours in the day. You have 6 hours throughout the day just to go and do whatever you need. Whereas if it's 11:5, you can play here for an hour, play there for an hour, do this or whatever. Plus, then you had the 2 hours after the community day to then evolve the Pokemon to get the required move set for it. Whereas I think it was during past community days there, if it was only the 3 hours, you only had like an hour or something, either during or after the event to then evolve that Pokemon to get that exclusive moveset. And it almost feels too much like a rush because then it's just over whenever you've still got the rest of the day to go. I don't really grasp that aspect of going from during COVID to then going back to pre-COVID. That's one aspect I can't quite grasp that concept of where they're coming from going from here's 11:5 community day, and the next minute, hold on a minute, we're just going to change it completely and just go right back to the normal community day, but of 2 to 5 p.m. Like, who thought that idea was going to be good?
Yeah. So I had this idea speaking with those optional time slots. So instead of special research to be a $1.99 ticket, and if they're in the shop says, hey, we get a special research ticket for free, and if after you get this ticket, you have a time slots, just like where you have what Kanto Johto Tour, they choose like the versions like red, blue, or gold, silver. Like I would like to have those times, those optional times in there with the ticket.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely, 100%. Yeah, definitely, because
that opens up complaints from the free-to-play players.
Yeah, that's if it was for free and not for like $1, that would be great.
I'm gonna just say that for me, I'm not a pay to play player. I'm more of a free-to-play person.
Right.
So for me, having these shinies locked behind paywalls, it's not for me. That's where I draw the line, because I'm not gonna spend money trying to do raids that supposed to have a 1 in 20 shiny odds chance. I remember whenever Deoxys was in raids, and that was supposed to be a 1 in shiny the first time it was released. I never got a shiny of it until it's probably like its third or fourth item. I was just like, I had done over 60 raids for that thing, and I was like, no, never again. And that was with the remote raid passes.
Yeah, during COVID, I'd hate to see the statement of how much money I spent on those remote raid passes.
Yeah, that's something we're going to be talking about in the next podcast, is the remote raid nerf on damage and reverting it back to premium raids.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be talking about that in the podcast.
Just be prepared. If you actually do end up doing that, I think you may want to have an open session.
Oh yes.
I think there was going to be a lot of people be like, "Hey, this is what the should be doing," and obviously we all have different experiences of playing the game. But I think bringing it back here to this podcast of the Incense Nerf and the 3 hour community day, I just, if you're going to do community day, do it for the entire day, not just 3 hours. Do it either select your own times, or have a time there where you can say, like, this is the time, there's 4 lists of times here. You can play either one of these, and if you pick one of these, this will get you part of the field research or part of the exclusive, like, whatever it is. Like, say for example, if it's like a charged TM, that's fine. I can happily go with a charged TM with that. Or if it's a free remote pass, or if it's a free premium pass, or whatever, I don't mind. I don't mind if it's $1 or €1 or £1 or whatever. I will happily buy, because it means that I can then pay part of my community day and do my bit and get the shinies that I want for that specific community day, and that's me done. But not if it's going to be some time when I have to go to work, and because I work in retail, so I cannot be like, whenever, because I work on like the front part of it, we aren't allowed to be on our mobile, so we have to, just sit it out. And basically it's just annoying that they do these times that are normally whenever people are free to do it, whenever they haven't quite grasped people work on weekends too.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my perspective on it.
All right. That's actually really good stuff. So another question is, what do you think about the Community Day Classic versus the Community Day that we have now?
I actually, sorry to the other person that's in this chat. I'm not. Is it Man with No Eyes? Is it?
Man without eyes. You're not going to offend me. Your opinion is perfectly valid.
You can agree to disagree.
I don't want to say your name wrong, but I know you're probably going to hate me for saying this, and that's perfectly fine. But for me, whenever the first Classic Community got announced, and I saw it was Bulbasaur, I only played it for a maximum of half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And it was more the fact of, what's the difference between a Classic Community Day and the communities that we have now. It just felt like a rerun of a rerun of a rerun of a rerun.
That's true.
I would rather have a Pokemon that doesn't have its shiny yet released, added into the game for a community day, not a new Pokemon. I would rather the communities as they are now are fine. It's fine, just leave it be. Don't be changing times, don't be changing whatever it is. it's a bit upsetting because now that I know what the Pokemon is for this month's Community Day, I won't be able to take part in it. So I know for a fact that whenever I come out then of my work to try and catch that Pokemon, the shiny odds for it are going to be some ridiculous amount, like 1 in 75 or 1 in 100 or something like that. That's something that actually then takes away my enjoyment from playing the game. For me, I enjoy getting shinies in the game because then that makes me feel like I've accomplished getting that shiny whenever I know that I was guaranteed to at least get maybe one of them, if not 2 of them. But for me, it's about accomplishment and actually knowing that I can get the shiny. If I know I can get the shiny, then I'm happy. If I can get something with an exclusive move on it, or if it's 100, or if it's a shiny, or if it's a perfect, or a shunned, or whatever, that's fine with me. But having it sometime if I'm going to be in work, it's just a complete no-go for me. I'm just like, this isn't what we play the game for.
I'm going to hit you for that.
Yeah, no worries.
Why would you think that? I'm not a violent individual.
But no, it's not that. It's just that some trainers have their own individual favorite Pokemon, and my personal favorite Pokemon is Mewtwo, and I know that's never gonna get a Community Day in a lifetime my lifetime of playing this game. But I just know some people just have prefer Pokemon. So
yeah. So in thought of this, instead of having Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle to come back again, this is a thought that when there's events with water events, fire events, and grass events, I think it will be great if they can keep the Community Day moves for events instead of just making it as a repeat for Community Day.
yes.
Yeah, so events when we have the grass event with new Pokemon coming up, and then with Bulbasaur coming into the grass event, we will have Venusaur's Community Day move Frenzy Plant coming from the Community Day to the grass event.
And they've done this recently with Gardevoir and Gallade.
Yeah.
If you evolved a Ralts or a Curlia, it would get Synchronoid. That was a couple months ago.
Yeah, because of what I've noticed is that for I think it was I can't remember what it was for, but I think was it during the December Community Day, all nearly almost all of the water spawns, all of the fire spawns, and all of the grass spawns all had the same grass move, or else the same fire move, or the same water move. Make it individual. Make it something that's going to be interesting for PvP. Make it something that's going to be fun for people to want to get. Make it fun for something that's going to be a desirable move. So instead of making it all the same, have it for so if during the water event or the water art, if you get a move that's going to have surf on it, or if you're going to have a different Pokemon or a different art, and have it for something that's going to get maybe say Frenzy Plant, or maybe Scald, or Razor Leaf, or something like that.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good answer. Yeah, I totally agree. Absolutely. Last question before we wrap up. What do you think Niantic can improve upon for this Community Day, especially for the future of Community Day, for those hours changes?
For me personally, I just think that they could improve the Community Day hours just by either by implementing that their screenshot from whoever that person was that made that infographic. That's a really good infographic. Just being able to choose the hours that you can play for, or else having it as an all-day event. So if it's going to be a Saturday, or if it's going to be a Sunday, a Saturday or Sunday, having it for an all-day, from either 9 a.m. or else 9 p.m. and whatever time suits people. I think that if you restrict it, you're going to be restricting the player base of who is available and who's not available, especially because whenever they sent out those emails for the Johto event, the feedback, I saw some people saying like, where did they get 5% of this of player bases played for only 3 hours from? And I was just like, not me, because I definitely did not play for 3 hours. I played for pretty much 6 hours and was either here or before work. I was out hunting for Pokemon as I playing the Johto Tour, but definitely I think that could do a lot with communicating that better within the community and having the need to improve their communication between trainers or advocates for Pokemon or higher up in Niantic.
Oh, is that it for your response?
Yeah, that's it for my response. I just think that just better communication and just making it, just having a time so that it suits people to play whenever they are free to play. Just taking day-to-day lives, just taking what people's commitments are and just jobs and livelihoods. Just
even a poll would fix that. I mean, at least it would be democratic.
Yeah,
that's also very, very true. Actually, yeah, like even there, just said there, just even a poll from the Atlantic, just to say like, what time would you guys like to be playing from? Is it 12 to 2, or is it 1 to 5, or is it 2 to 5, or else is it 5 to 8? Whatever time, like, have a poll that's going to be available so everyone can have the time to play it.
All right. Well, Aaron, this is actually great. You answered a lot of questions. This is a really good podcast to talk about these things. So thank you for coming in and speaking.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Yeah,
and
man.
the other person as well for their opinions as well. It was really, really good to get an insight into how they play the game as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. All right, you too. Have a good day.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming through. This was a great podcast, and I really enjoyed talking with amongst people. Only for a couple of people within this hour. This is actually pretty good. So the next podcast is going to be the remote raid nerf damage, plus going back to pre-COVID on premium raids. So that's probably the time that Niantic are going to be doing this temporary. So yeah, that's going to be coming up on the next podcast when it happens. So yes, thank you guys for coming through, and hope you guys understand what their thoughts are. And yeah, if you're more than welcome to join in, and don't be shy, don't be hesitant. Feel free to speak on your behalf on these changes and for what will happen, next. So yeah, thank you guys so much, and I will see you guys in the next podcast. Thank you so much. Laters. Bye-bye.